Mágad. Is gáda mé fad a hógaid, go míle mágad. Tá samcuid sé déirnach sníoach, the rudid ará agus rud é bhhaile marrá. Unfortunately, I was away for the last 2.5 weeks, and as a consequence, I was watching things from afar. Now, I have to say that in relation to the beef crisis, this has been looming for some considerable time. And I argued, when I was spokesperson on agriculture, that farming in a situation where the farmer was losing money on the farming. In other words, put in simple terms, for a lot of farmers, if you look at their accounts and you take out the fixed grant payments, that's the gloss, the basic payment, the area of natural constraint payment, what you then find is they're actually losing money on the farming. And what has been going on for a while but got totally exacerbated this year was the reality that the more and the harder you farmed, the less money you made. And that in fact minimalist approach with minimalist inputs was the most profitable way of farming. Now an industry that's structured like that, and has been structured for some time like that, but the situation got totally exacerbated by the collapse in the beef price this year, is not structured rightly. And this is an issue that we not only need to face up to at national level, but we also need to look at the way we're assisting farming at an EU level. Now, obviously, with the issue of an absolutely collapsing price, this brought the more intensive farmers to a total crisis this year. But to say that this pattern hasn't been there for a while, particularly for farmers in the less advantaged area, would be to ignore reality when you look at the actual accounts of real farmers on the ground. The second issue is the issue of profit-taking in the sector is very valid. And the Deputy after me will remember when we did a big analysis on this on the Agricultural Committee, and we looked particularly on the retail sector. And there was work going on in France, and I produced a paper on this, which the Commission were very interested in at the time, in relation to the need to start finding out who is making what out of farming. Now, one thing we did find out, because it's easy enough to measure it, is that out of liquid milk, out of a litre of milk you buy in a shop, the percentage that the farmer gets of that has dropped 10% in the 11 years up to the date we did that exercise. You can take it that the same process is happening with other parts of agriculture, but it's much harder to put an animal together and work it out accurately than it is a pint of liquid milk that comes from a cow on a farm and is sold the next day. But we need to really start analysing this, and Europe were saying that they were interested, and then we need to deal with the cartels. And the cartels are not only the factories, but I believe also that the retailers, and I think some evidence shows that the retailers are also using and manipulating the price, and we need to deal with that issue. And we need to examine it, in my view, very, very carefully. Now, another thing that I believe has to be looked at EU level is this idea that the factories, who are hugely powerful, that the retailers, who are small in number, are hugely powerful, can negotiate price, and that farmers and other primary producers, who are hugely weak on an individual basis, cannot collectively negotiate price. And if that's what competition law means, then competition law is an ass. And it's time that Europe faced up to that. Now, I used to often say, when we were debating this issue, I used to often say that this problem of primary producers is not unique to Ireland. We all know about fair trade coffee. We understand that perfectly well. But the reality is, right throughout the world, no matter what the agricultural product is, and remember, none of us can survive without eating. We can do it out of a lot of things in life. Some of us could even survive without an iPhone, although that would be hard. But we cannot survive without eating. And food and drink are absolutely fundamental. But the reality around the world is that the primary producers all around the world are getting absolutely pressurised into uneconomical prices. And as I said, if European law stops farmers, and I know about producer groups and all the rest, that's all very handy talk, and for some people and the bigger players that will work, but a lot of the smaller farmers represented in the back benches here by myself and Deputy Scanlon and others, that's not really as good as if farm organisations and other representative bodies could negotiate. And would it upset the whole free market of the European Union? I don't believe it is. Would it bring a bit of justice around? Yes, I believe it would. So I'd have to say that we need a lot of change. Now, the motion also refers to general rural issues. I'm just going to mention three things very briefly. There's talk of a carbon tax in areas where the state underspend per capita hugely on public transport. The per capita spend in the capital city on buses is 3 times that in rural areas. The fares in rural areas are twice that in the cities. So we, out of our taxes on the same wages, subsidise urban transport. I'm not complaining about that to a point. I'll use the urban transport. But reality is we need equality. Equality is what we need, and we're going to have to stand up and get it. The second thing is, and this one slipped through and maybe some of us didn't see it coming. If you want to build a rural house, and if you're 100 metres away from the public water supply, your site is 100 metres, you're not allowed to put the pipe in anymore yourself. And Dáil Éireann will charge you $20,000, euros. I was in the dollar country until the day before yesterday. That's jet lag for you. But they'll charge you 20,000 euros, which is even higher, to lay 100 metres of pipe. And if it's 200 metres, it's 40, and 300 metres, it's 60. Now that's absolutely ridiculous. And the final thing we need, don't give us anything other than fibre. No system of broadband other than fibre is going to be competitive.
Thank you very much.